This is Jenny Burke, and today I'm going to be interviewing Everett Hoffman, who is a regenerative strength coach, and we're going to learn a little bit about his process and what brought him to having this passion of being a coach, how it relates to all of you with respect to leading a healthy lifestyle, incorporating joyful exercise, and also with strength and with your body image. So welcome, Everett.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi. So why don't you first tell us a little bit about your practice and tell us sort of how you came to want to have your own coaching practice.
Sure. Well, my practice is called Everett Strength Regenerative Coaching. And what I look to do with people is help them to see themselves as a regenerative being, someone that is creating energy and able to share that energy with the people and systems around them to help make them stable and to help create more energy around them. So I do that through a combination of strength and movement coaching and life coaching.
So how do you put some of these things into practice? Specifically?
So specifically, I teach people how to use kettlebells as a discipline and as a strength training tool. It's important for me for people to learn how to use them themselves so that they can continue their practice long after we've finished working together. I teach people movement that they can incorporate throughout their day and in regular practice. Movement that's going to help people tap into their bodies and be more embodied. And and then there's another element that I found is really important, which is life coaching. And my experience is that people's physical problems usually stem from problems that exist in their larger life experience. And so by addressing those problems directly, we can create practices that people can do that will help them to regenerate their vitality, ease, and resilience.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. So, as you know, I'm a coach as well, and part of being a coach is sort of having a story that you've lived that has sort of been the underbelly of the process. So like one of the reasons I became a coach was because I struggled with my weight and I struggled with body image, and it was something I felt that I was able to not overcome, but you only have to be one step ahead of your client, right? And I've come to get a lot of peace around that, and you've been a huge role in that, as you know. And so my question is, so what's been your story? Because what informs my coaching is how I've healed and how I've been able to leverage what I've learned into helping other people. And I'm curious, what has been your sort of strength and movement history personally, and what had you feel like this is something you want to impart to others?
Sure. Well, from a very young age, I felt really awkward and uncomfortable in my body, and I wasn't able to move very well. I wasn't fast. I didn't think of myself as being very strong. I was tall and heavy and awkward, and I had that in my head. And so whenever it came to playing sports or anything like that, like I sort of conceived of myself in this negative way, and I wasn't able to really fully engage in my potential as a strong, mobile human being. And that really continued all the way up through college. I would work out occasionally, weightlifting and sometimes racquetball and other sports. I would swim, but I always had this conception of myself as like, not an athletic person. And so I'd start doing things and then I would just stop. And And I sort of lacked this discipline, and part of that was I didn't really enjoy doing these activities. I didn't really find a lot of joy in them, of meaning in them, of pleasure in them. They're difficult and challenging and tough, and I felt crappy afterwards. And so then, after college, I was introduced to kettlebell training. This was about 5 years ago, and ever since then, the kettlebell has been this incredible part of my movement practice. It's really what I built my movement practice on. I really fell in love with the way that I was able to use the kettlebell. It's this rhythmic, meditative expression of power and grace and control. And I've really just evolved from there. And I've started to do other forms of strength training, but particularly I've moved into this realm of movement and play. That sort of began with my experience of coaching at gymnasia, and then my experience becoming a primal practice teacher, and now I'm studying under this school of thought called Evolve, Move, Play, and that involves a lot of jumping on rocks and climbing trees and being outdoors and using the natural environment as a way to create strength and vitality. And
That's
so
awesome.
that's kind of where I am right now. I'm still holding strong on the kettlebell training, but I've been doing a lot of like climbing trees and swimming in ponds and jumping on rocks.
So, you talk about play, and play is something that I talk about in my coaching as well with respect to body image. So part of having a better body image is the sense of actually embodying your body and agreeing to be in your body. And many of us, especially people who binge eat or who emotionally eat, they associate not only from their bodies but from their heads too. They're sort of not present. And one of the things that you did to help me in my healing, and I do credit you for even having this business that I'm doing and even having this interview, is you had me feel comfortable in my own body mechanics. Like I learned that my arms weren't necessarily my strong. I wanted to do push-ups, you remember, and you kind of let me know in a really kind way that my strength is in my lower body, and so that's where I'm going to be getting all of my strength. That's where I'm going to feel embodied. That's where I'm going to feel empowered. And and the other thing is that play is another way that we can embody. We can sort of figure out what feels good and what's fun and what's joyful. And can you just talk a little bit more about how you do that with clients? Because obviously not all clients are going to climb in trees and stuff like that.
So just like I've found ways to move in that make me feel good, that I find exciting and exhilarating, that's what I want everyone that I work with to do. Is everyone is different, and everyone is going to have their own movement bliss, so to speak. And the way that I found to be on this continual path of self-evolution in a physical and mental capacity is to do things that I enjoy. In the past, when I was doing things that were really like it was just struggle, it was no pleasure in it, then I didn't do it. I didn't follow through. I gave up. It's like it was too much to ask of me to have that discipline. So where I found discipline is through enjoyment, because I be like, all right, I might be feeling kind of slow and tired today right now, but if I go do this thing that I know that I love to do, I'm going to come out of that feeling great, and I'm going to feel great all day, and I'm going to feel great into the next day, and I'm going to want to do that again, and I'm going to get on this track of momentum through joy and pleasure. And that's where this discipline, this really sustainable regenerative discipline lies, is in joy and pleasure. And the way that I get there is through this idea of play. And now you can play with other people, and that's what I do with clients. I do a lot of interactive games where I challenge people's balance and reaction and you know, help them to find different ways of movement through play. But it's also like the strength training, the more difficult, challenging stuff. I've started to think about that as part of the play, like creating little experiences for myself to challenge myself and just to see what I'm capable of. But it's not like I have to do this. It's I wonder what I can do today. Like how far can I push myself in a really safe and comfortable way that's going to want to keep me coming back and help me keep progressing in that way. But it's not through this external structure of I have to do this. There's an obligation. I'm punishing myself for my weaknesses.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so what you're saying is that by incorporating play and enjoying what you're doing while at the same time challenging yourself and sort of taking yourself to the edge to see what you're capable of, it's accessible for every single person, right?
Exactly. Everybody is exactly where they need to be, and we all have our sphere of comfort. And the way that we expand that sphere of comfort is by exploring the edge. Like, where are we comfortable? What is our edge? And we don't push past that edge. We don't break it. Like that's where it becomes really like that drudgery of like, oh, I have to do this thing that's really horrible. Instead, when we explore our sphere of comfort, like we can create this really playful attitude around self-discovery. I think I lost you.
Are you still there?
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's some great wisdom, and that's you know as I said, that's part of how I've been able to really enjoy exercise again is embodying my body, doing things that I didn't think I'd ever be able to do, and challenging and sort of pushing that edge that you talk about. So, what do you have? What kind of words of wisdom would you have for someone who sort of wants to be on this path of exercise, for love, not just for punishing their bodies because they had cake yesterday or whatever, but they're really coming at it from a place of wanting to lose weight?
Yeah, so I think a first step is to accept that you are where you are. It's not a resignation that says I can't ever change or be different, but it's like I'm here. I am present in this body right now. And I want to see what my body is capable of, both in like the physical capacity and in the weight loss. Like I want to see what my body will look like and feel like when I weigh less, and what I will be capable of when I weigh less. But you're beginning from that place of acceptance, right? You can't come at this from a place of hate, of self-hate. Like, I hate myself, therefore I will change. No, it's like I love myself as I am, and I want to see what more I'm capable of. So that's kind of the mindset. And then in terms of moving forward, find things that you like to do. Like I was talking about, I have been loving climbing trees, but that may not be for everyone. Some people really might love just going for long walks, or like starting to like jog around a pond or something. Other people might really enjoy lifting weights. I did. Lots of people that I work with find that they actually really enjoy challenging themselves through weightlifting, challenging themselves through movement, and challenging themselves through play. That's my approach, and that's what I've seen the people that I work with come to really enjoy.
Yeah.
But it's different for everyone. So the coming at it from a place of self-love and self-acceptance, one, and then two, finding something you really like to do.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on both of those. It's exactly how I coach my clients as well. tell me what your definition is of strength. So like strength is such a loaded word in our culture. Strength, inner strength, external strength. And I'm curious, just within the context of your coaching and your life coaching, how would you describe and define strength?
So obviously strength can be physical strength. Like I can lift X amount, or I have this amount of muscle. But I think that strength goes deeper than that. I think of strength as kind of like a process. It's not a static thing, because we are living beings and we're always evolving and growing and changing. So Ever in Ever Strength stands for embodying vitality, ease, and resilience. And those words, vitality, ease, and resilience, speak to what strength means for me. And this process of embodying or evolving speaks to the way in which we move towards that idea of strength. I don't think that we can ever be the strongest version of ourselves, because there's always more potential to find. I think that we also need to know and realize and embrace like how much strength we want to be able to bring. Like we don't, like a lot of men that I know want to pursue strength, physical strength, for its own purposes, just to become stronger. But I think the context for why we are strong and for what we are strong is really important. So, having a context and having a conception of what we need to be strong for, and really who we need to be strong for. So in like sort of an emotional strength capacity, I need to be strong for my partner. I need to be strong for my friends and my family. I want to be strong for my clients. And everyone has people in their life who would benefit by them being stronger, both in an emotional capacity and a physical capacity. So contextualizing strength is really important.
That's great answer. And that I just have a couple more questions, but that lends in really nicely into the life coaching component that you do, because obviously, you spend time working on outer strength and trying to get someone to be stronger, whatever that means within the context of their own body mechanics and what they're capable of. And then there's this whole inner strength piece of it. And you talked about being emotionally strong for friends, family, partner, but even for yourself, because a lot of times, we feel like we can be strong for everybody else, but then we lack that in our own selves. And I guess I'm curious how you weave in life coaching into your coaching practice. And especially since my course is about body image and about, emotional eating and stress eating and things like that. How would you work with someone in that regard?
So I try to bring curiosity and empathy to the life coaching that I do. And this is a process in which I ask questions and listen to people. And that's actually a really profound thing, because people often aren't listened to and asked why, or asked to go deeper into their emotional state. So often we just move through our lives with a vague sense of how we're feeling at any particular moment. But when there's a person that creates space for you to explore your own emotional being, you are able to find a depth and an understanding that isn't always accessible to you on your own. Because you moving through your day will just sort of automatically respond to emotional stresses in your life.
Stimuli, right?
Yeah, stimuli. And without being aware of yourself. And so I see as a life coach, I see myself as a partner in self exploration. And once you get a better sense of your emotional landscape, you can see how your feelings affect your behaviors. And when you get more clear about your behaviors, you can be like, oh, this particular thing that I do actually drags me down. Maybe that for some people that might be binge eating. And so like when I binge eat, when I feel this negative thing, I binge eat, and then I feel this negative thing. And being really aware of that, it's like, okay, so what caused that negative feeling in the first place? And then the response is the binge eating, and then you have like the negative feelings afterwards. So going in there and finding space within those responses, create emotional stopgaps at all those points along the chain, and then creating different practices to do instead of your normal emotional responses. So it's about creating new practices. We can't just change ourselves like that. We can't just say, all right, I'm gonna be totally different. We need to evolve ourselves. And the way that we evolve ourselves is being aware and creating new patterns of behavior, new practices.
Great, thank you. You're definitely unique in the training, coaching field, in that you are integrating life coaching with strength coaching and movement and play. So I really feel like that sets you apart from other sort of traditional trainers. And I'm curious what is a vision you have for this field and how you hope to pave this path maybe for I don't know any other, trainers like you or coaches like you. So what's your vision for the field?
Well, thank you. I'm not entirely sure how unique I actually am, but this, like the language that I use around regenerative, and the frameworks that I use are I guess more unique. But I think that this practice of integrating like physicality and mental emotional being is not new by any means. But the vision that I have is I want to help people to really have a better sense of well-being. And I think that a lot of the pain that exists in the world, both internally within individuals and as it's expressed in our individual's relationship to other people and our relationship to our environment.
And our bodies.
And our bodies. Like, all of that is, it's from this fundamental state of dis-ease. And I think that if we create more well-being within individuals, that dis-ease will dissipate at a larger and larger scale. So I've chosen to work with people one-on-one to make that change in the world, to create that societal ecological evolution. And that's my vision. My vision is for people to live in more harmony with more well-being.
That's wonderful. So Everett, thank you so much for this interview. I think it was really helpful to hear this perspective. Traditionally we'll think of, going to a trainer as going to the gym. And I used to go to this gym and I would see the trainer just sitting there while the client was on the elliptical for 10 minutes and just chatting with them. And this is really, from my perspective, really important and revolutionary in terms of supporting people on such a deeper level than just getting fit or getting strong or losing weight. It's so much more, because we are holistic people, and everything is related, inner strength, outer strength, our relationships with people, our relationships to the environment, our relationships to ourselves. And I just appreciate you taking this time to talk to my audience about how this field is growing. And I guess want to ask you if you have any final thoughts or anything else you'd like to impart before we finish up. What's that? What is that? Technical difficulty.
Yeah, fire alarm.
It's not going to turn off.
I think my partner, she's, I don't know what.
Okay, so I guess we'll end it there.
Maybe we should just call it. Oh, okay. Crisis solved. All right, let's see. Final thoughts.
1 second. Final thoughts, and then if you have, if you don't mind, to just show the audience just a couple of the different types of movements and patterns that you would do with clients, that would be great.
Sure. So I'll just jump into a little demonstration.
Okay.
Turn this off here.
And thankfully, there's no fire.
No fire. So often we spend so much of our time sitting down, and that creates this sort of like forward hunch. And the first thing that I do with people is try to create a sense of openness and expansiveness throughout their whole body. And so it's simple as just standing, really. So one thing that you can do to just start to feel a difference in your body is to stand and to breathe. So feeling your weight sinking down into your feet, focusing most of that weight into your heels, rolling up through your spine, tucking your tailbone just a little bit towards the front. That's going to lengthen your middle spine here. And then rolling your chest open, lightly squeezing your shoulder blades back together, and just sort of rolling your shoulders open like this. And that's going to really do a lot to sort of correct this sort of very forward-oriented sitting kind of posture here. This. And the way that we hold ourselves is just really, really important. When we're holding ourselves open and expansive, we actually release different biological chemicals in our body. We change our body's physiology through the way that we stand. So standing is a really great place to start. Then from here, I just like to twist. Letting my arms loosely hang from my body, and I can twist around. And this opens up my spine and my hips and my knees. I can connect to the floor with my feet, and I just feel everything engaging and relaxing. And then I can turn that into kind of a side to side, and that's gonna work everything a little different way. And this is a great thing to do after you've been in your car, after you've been sitting, and it could just take like 1 or 2 minutes of just gently moving your body, and it's going to make a big difference moving forward in the rest of your day.
Awesome.
I'll introduce, for those of you who haven't seen it, this is a kettlebell. So this is a kettlebell that I've had for 5 years. They're a great investment to make because they'll always be there. They're never going to go bad. And there's just so much you can do with this one particular object here. I'll just demonstrate the quintessential kettlebell movement, which is the swing. And this is a great movement because this really activates the back side of our body. It's the side of our body that we don't really pay much attention to in our very forward-oriented culture. So here it is. And I'm opening up my hips behind me, and I'm controlling everything with my abdominals. I'm squeezing my arms back behind me, really engaging my back. And I'm breathing. I'm connecting my movement to my breath. And it's a really great activity. It creates really strong, resilient bodies. One more thing that I'll show with this is a squat. And squatting is a really important human activity. It's how most of the world sits. That's where people in the third world will cook and have conversations and eat. And it's something that we don't really do a lot. And yeah, it's really good for our hips, our lower back, and really everything all the way up and down. So coming down into a squat might be challenging for some people at first, but the kettlebell is a really great way to develop that strength in those ranges.
Yeah,
So,
that's great. And I assume you start off without any weight and get the movement patterns correct.
yeah.
And then move into like building up in weight.
Yeah, so big focus on form, especially when you're loading patterns, and progressing towards loading patterns with more and more weight, which is not necessarily the goal. The goal is always to move well, to move better, to feel better in your body as you're moving. So the progression of weight is less important than the progression of the quality of your movement.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So thank you so much, Everett. I really appreciate this. And for those of you in the Boston area, Everett can be found at everstrength.org. Is that right? www.everstrength.org. And he is available for consults, movement consults, as well as training. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
Yeah, I would love to work with you. If what I said today resonates with you, and you'd like to talk more and explore more about like just even to have a conversation about where you are, I offer body life engagement sessions totally for free. It's just a conversation or maybe a little bit of a movement session to see where you are, what could be, like what you could do right now to make yourself feel better, to move with more ease and vitality, and to create more resilience within yourself. It doesn't have to go anywhere. It doesn't have to lead to training. It could just be a conversation that might help you feel more embodied.
Great. Awesome. So again, it's Everett Hoffman, and you can find him at www.everstrength.org. And Everett, thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you, Jenny.
And have a good rest of the day.
All right, bye.
Bye.